Senegal, ready to participate in the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation. It will be the 8th one held this year in Dakar. Very excited to meet people who are interested in Africa's development, interested to see how the different governments and their representatives are going to put forward a collective agenda that might see Africa have a firmer position, or stronger position in relation to future China-Africa projects. Of course, specifically excited to see what kind of health cooperation will come out and where we stand on things like new infrastructural projects, new MOUs, and hoping again that a collective position can be pushed by our African leaders.
Wang, conseiller d'État de la République populaire de Chine, ministre des Affaires étrangères. Je voudrais, au nom du ministère des Affaires étrangères, des diplomates qui m'entourent et de tous les fonctionnaires de ce département, vous souhaiter la bienvenue ici au Sénégal, pays de la Teranga. Cette bienvenue à vous-même et à l'ensemble de la délégation qui vous accompagne. Vous le savez, vous êtes un ami du Sénégal. Ce n'est pas la première fois que vous venez visiter notre pays et nous sommes toujours très heureux, beaucoup plus qu'auparavant, de vous y accueillir parce que vous venez en ami et vous êtes reçus en ami. Cette chaleureuse bienvenue va commencer par des félicitations qui vous sont adressées à la République populaire de Chine. Elles vous sont adressées parce que nous le savons cette année, vous avez fêté avec beaucoup de brio le 50e anniversaire de votre admission comme siège permanent aux Nations Unies le 25 octobre et vu le rôle important que vous y jouez, le Sénégal s'associe à toutes les nations qui vous ont félicité pour vous présenter ces sincères félicitations à lui aussi. Également vous féliciter pour la célébration du 5e anniversaire du Parti communiste chinois et saluer à ce titre les avancées remarquables sur le plan économique, social et culturel auxquelles vous avez procédé. Et enfin, vous souhaitez un plein succès dans les Jeux olympiques d'hiver que vous allez organiser en février 2022. Rappelant d'ailleurs que le Sénégal, à son tour, doit organiser les Jeux olympiques de la jeunesse en 2026. Tout ça pour vous dire, Excellence, qu'entre le Sénégal et la Chine, nous avons beaucoup de points convergents. Beaucoup de points convergents parce que, comme vous le savez déjà, et je le réitère ici, notre pays, le Sénégal, soutient le principe d'une seule Chine, une Chine unie et unique, et combat à vos côtés pour l'intégrité du territoire chinois. Cela dit, Excellence, Monsieur le Ministre, permettez-moi très rapidement de procéder à un bref passage en revue de notre coopération. Notre coopération qui est à la fois ancienne, riche et multiforme. Déjà au plan financier, nos deux pays ont signé diverses conventions. Et ces conventions à ce jour totalisent 1200 milliards de francs CFA. Ces 1200 milliards qui sont répartis en prêts concessionnels de l'ordre de 1039 milliards, en subventions de l'ordre de 117 milliards et en prêts sans intérêt de plus de 50 milliards. C'est donc pour dire que la Chine appuie financièrement le Sénégal et de façon conséquente. En moyenne, si nous faisons le calcul, nous recevons de la Chine 80 milliards de concours financiers par an et dans divers secteurs. Et ces secteurs, pour nous, sont des secteurs stratégiques importants. C'est l'agriculture, c'est la santé, c'est l'industrie, c'est la culture, c'est l'hydraulique, ce sont les infrastructures, c'est-à-dire des secteurs fondamentaux de base pour avancer le développement de notre pays. Et cette coopération financière, nous la maintenons avec transparence et avec responsabilité pour ne pas aggraver notre niveau d'endettement. Donc nous veillons beaucoup à ce que notre dette ne dépasse pas les critères et les conditions qui sont arrêtés et nous le faisons également dans une transparence absolue, non seulement vis-à-vis de la Chine, mais vis-à-vis même du peuple sénégalais à qui nous devons des comptes.
Nous allons procéder à la signature de l'échange de lettres sur le projet de coopération agricole qui sera signé du côté du Sénégal par M. Amadou, ministre de la coopération. Et pour le côté chinois par M. Luo Xiaohui, président de l'Agence nationale de la coopération internationale chinoise. Pour le deuxième accord, ce sera l'acte de remise-réception du gouvernement de la République du Sénégal et du gouvernement de la République populaire de Chine portant projet d'assistance technique pour le centre hospitalier national pour enfants de Diamniadio. Les signataires seront, pour le côté chinois, le vice-ministre du Commerce, M. Tien Kemin, et côté sénégalais, M. Amadou, ministre de l'Économie, du Plan et de la Coopération.
Mesdames, Messieurs les journalistes, bonjour. Nous sommes encore une fois très heureux de vous accueillir ici au Ministère des Affaires étrangères, dans cette maison de la diplomatie. Et nous avons l'honneur cet après-midi de recevoir un hôte de marque, Son Excellence Wang, ministre des Affaires étrangères de la République populaire de Chine. Vous en doutez, nous avons passé devant vous en revue l'ensemble de nos axes de coopération.
Hi, I'm Michaela Nondoyeshko, and I'm a researcher at Tricontinental Institute for Social Research. I'm currently in Dakar, Senegal for the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation. This is their 8th such conference since 2000. And this morning, a little update, we concluded the 7th conference on Chinese and African entrepreneurs, which was really interesting to hear the diversity of experiences that China-Africa have had over the last, not only 2 decades, but over the last 60 years in many instances. We had inputs from different stakeholders, and some of the more interesting ones were from one of the leaders in the Chinese railway state-owned enterprise, where the kind of scope of work that's been done in Africa is quite incredible, where at least 450,000 people have been employed, at least I think it was around 5 billion in local procurement of local materials have been used in the process of constructing different transportation systems, as well as thousands of kilometers being built across the African continent. Some of the key ones historically have been Tazara Railway between Tanzania and Zambia in the late 60s, early 70s, and more recently the success of the Djibouti or Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, Djibouti railway line were key highlights of that. We also had some interesting inputs from the China-Africa Development Fund, thinking about the scale of financing from the first real equity fund of this kind supported by China and Africa. And a lot of it not only was about what kind of capital investments have been made that have enabled Chinese companies to come into Africa on a lot more egalitarian grounds, but it also talked about the kind of technological transfers and other forms of resource and human development investment that would be made on the continent. Lastly, I think it's worth mentioning that countries like Djibouti, Senegal remarked on the fact that technology transfers as well as different forms of logistical arrangements have been so central to trying to get to the next level. And one of the slogans that has been one of the many things said by different stakeholders has been Cooperation 2.0. So what does the next generation of cooperation agreements look like? And I'm sure by the end of the conference we will see many memorandums of understanding being signed and just upping that level. So with that, I will conclude that the main 2 themes were deepening cooperation in a sustainable manner, not only sustainable in terms of what African people can give and can be as the central participants and agents of change, but as well as thinking about issues of climate change, thinking about issues of how we develop that in relation to industrialization, which is a huge issue on the continent, as well as what we think about the steps forward for our post-COVID recovery. I'm at the International Conference Center Amadou Diouf in Dakar, Senegal. We have just concluded the 8th Ministerial China-Africa Cooperation Forum, or Forum on China-Africa Cooperation. And a lot of interesting things have come out, particularly starting with what we got as the opening address from President Xi Jinping of the People's Republic of China, where China gave a really interesting proposal that was quite comprehensive, I would say, with 4 main urgent areas of cooperation, which included solidarity around COVID-19, how we address the pandemic, how we can deepen practical cooperation in terms of beefing up logistical infrastructure, technical infrastructure, political infrastructure, as well as promoting green development and ensuring peace and security questions. They also the Chinese government proposed a 9 kind of point plan, which is basically a synthesis of the China-Africa 2035 vision, which is one of the 3, I think, agreements that were signed during this time. And the 9 major action points that will be implemented over the next 3 years cover things like poverty reduction, which has been a huge achievement of China, where over 850 million people have been lifted out of extreme poverty in China. And we'll be really interested to see how that kind of pans out as the details come out about that. But they have committed to certain projects, and I think throughout the different 9-point action points, they have 10 commitments within them. So it's like 10 projects for digitalization, 10 projects for improving the green economy, 10 initiatives around, they're going to create what they call a green lane, which would allow for African products to more easily enter into Chinese markets in terms of the exports. We also saw, which I thought was also quite interesting, how there was a big emphasis on capacity building. So traditionally or historically, we've seen how finance and kind of billions and trillions have been the question that Africans are looking for. What kind of financial capital investment are we going to get? And even though there were clear financial investments in terms of 10 billion coming to support Chinese businesses that will be coming to Africa, for example, we saw a lot more of a diversity or comprehensive set of initiatives, such as there's been a promise of having 10,000 within the next 3 years, 10,000 technical experts from China coming to work in Africa for training purposes. 10 schools are going to be built. We also saw how they want to enhance more cultural and people-centered projects, which is extremely important this day and age when we're again trying to move towards something more qualitative rather than quantitative, which we've seen in the past. And in terms of some of the criticisms or the areas of concern perhaps is we've seen what China has brought to the table, but when it came to the African states, there was a lack of specificity around how we would take on these proposals, how we would do so from a perspective that A, shows a unity or a collectivity of African leaders, B, shows a consideration of the heterogeneity of the African continent, and C, indicates that they are thinking of tactical and immediate outcomes of these different proposals coming from China. So going into the future, for us as African people, we welcome the support, we welcome the cooperation, we welcome the message of common destiny and a shared future. But for us, the concern is, where do our African leaders stand? How will they implement this? And to what extent will the ordinary people of Africa experience some of the benefits of this kind of program?